Okay. So how have you been, Shivakshi? Hi, I'm Siddhi.
Oh,
I don't
yes.
think we've met before. Ananya, I know for some time.
I just know Ananya, but yeah, we were roommates in bachelors in SNU.
I see.
Yeah.
Ananya and I were roommates, or whatever that big room
Yes.
was, hall mates. We were, I think, some 7 girls in that one room. So all of us were roommates.
You were at Queens, right? And
I
now
was. I
you're
am
at
now at Penn State.
oh, nice. That's
Mhm.
great. The shift is not too much.
It is not. In some sense, it is not. In some sense, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in Canada, things are newer because it's a newer country and fewer people, and people are nicer. So, I mean, I know that this is a very cliche that you see in all North American sitcoms, that Canadian people will say sorry if you hit into them, like on while you're walking, you hit into them and they will say sorry to you. That does happen. But I kind of liked it. It was a very nice atmosphere. And over here, it's a lot more impersonal. Over here, if you hit into somebody, then neither of you will say sorry.
When was the first time that you decided formally that mathematics is what you wanted to do?
Formally, I decided when I decided to enroll in CMI for my undergrad. CMI is Chennai Math Institute, and the curriculum is broadly math based. The only subjects that we learnt were math, computer science, and a couple of courses in physics, couple of courses in English. I went for the entrance exam. I really enjoyed the experience because they gave us, I think, something like 2 or 3 hours, and there were a bunch of multiple choice questions and a bunch of long open ended questions. And at that time, the other entrance exams were all multiple choice, whereas here you were given space to just think about the problem or make whatever progress you can, show your steps and show your thought process. And I really enjoyed that entire experience. And after that, I just thought, okay, I really enjoyed doing math in the entrance exam. So I think I might like to pursue it further.
Wow. That is rare, I think, for someone to say, I enjoyed giving an entrance exam.
Yeah, I think I was also surprised with myself. So that was when I formally decided that I'll do math. The informal thoughts about liking math were there since my childhood. Although I know it sounds very cliche that
Not at
people say
all.
I've been interested in math since my young age. Uh, that's how we start our research statements usually. But yeah, it is very cliche, but it is true. When I was in school, I used to attempt these competitive exams, and they would have certain sets of practice problems that you would solve. So they were like non-routine math, like not school math per se, but some
Uh-huh.
challenging math puzzles or questions or problems, something like those. And then I got really interested in solving them. They were some sort of a challenge, and at the same time they would occupy me, and I was good at them, so that also helped, I think. And then as time went on, I kept on being interested in mathematics. And I didn't know that I would definitely pursue math, but that was an option when I was giving the entrance exam for CMI. And then when the results came back, I was like, okay, since I am selected, there is no way I'm not doing math. So
So in school, you study mathematics in a very different way. You do end up solving a lot of problems. You come to bachelors, where the approach to mathematics is a little different. Even the content is a little different from what you studied in school. So how did your approach towards mathematics changed when you shifted from you moved from school to your undergraduation and then to your masters and then to your PhD? How did it change your interaction, particularly with mathematics?
yeah, that's an excellent question. So in school, as you said, it is a lot about problem solving, and so it's not just it's just, oh, you are given a problem and you try to solve it. That's it. In undergrad, uh, you slowly start to learn that these concepts have deeper meaning. It's not just solving a problem, it's actually trying to discover structure. So, the first course in abstract algebra, usually group theory for me, that kind of told me that instead of studying the same thing again and again, you make it abstract, you study it in an abstract way, and then you apply it in the particular setting. So in terms of groups, for example, you have the symmetric groups, or you have groups of automorphisms, you have groups in various settings. But instead of studying them one in each setting, you kind of just abstractify things and just define a set as a group and study its structure as an abstract set. And then in the particular context of symmetric groups or automorphism groups, you apply these concepts. That, I think, was one level of maturity which I gained in my bachelor's, where you try to study concepts rather than solve problems. And in your PhD, you are trying to develop those concepts further yourself. So in your undergrad, you are kind of given the idea, and you start learning how to learn concepts. Whereas in PhD, you start learning how to ask questions about concepts which are already there. So questions that may not have been previously asked. For example, you might know that certain infinite series is takes a value which is not zero, for example. And in your PhD, you might ask, okay, I know that it is not zero, but how big is the value? Is the value bigger than a certain number, or is the value small, or uh, is the value algebraic? Is the value transcendental? So you start asking questions that would not have been previously asked. And I think you continue that in your postdoc and also in your further research work. So that is the kind of development of ideas, or how things changed for me with respect to mathematics, from problems to understanding concepts to actually trying to develop them yourself.
You are now a research mathematician. What does your day look like? What do you do?
So not all days are the same.
A typical
It's
day in
different.
your life.
So it's different during the semester where I am teaching a course, and it's different now in summer where I don't have to teach. When I have to teach, for example, I usually prefer morning lectures. So I would wake up in the morning, prepare for my lecture, and then go and deliver the lecture. And then I would typically have office hours for students where they would come and ask me if they have any difficulties with the homework or assignments. And about until lunch, I would spend in doing work related to teaching. And then after that, usually, browse papers on archive, or browse papers in journals. I really like going to the library and spending time there looking at books. Unfortunately, that's not something that I can do right now because of COVID. But that is something that I really enjoy. And then relax in the evening, and so on and so forth. The days that I did not teach, either I would be attending seminars, or when I have free time, usually early in the morning, I would like to spend that on working on the problems that I'm interested in. So I would be working on, let's say, 2 or 3 projects, and then I would spend time either learning for those projects, learning new things for those projects, or working out some idea that I had and see if it works, etc. Right now in summer, I don't have the teaching aspect, so I have an entire day to just think about stuff. So I don't do math 24/7,
Mhm.
but the problem that I'm, let's say, currently working on will always be at the back of my mind. So let's say I'm taking a walk outside, listening to music. Uh, at the back of my mind, there might be the problem, or if I might be listening to a talk and I listen to an idea, and then I would be like, oh, that idea sounds interesting. Maybe I can try and see if that works in my context, something like that. Um, So that's kind of always there. No, I don't work 10 hours or 12 hours a day. But it's fun. I work whenever it's fun for me.
You must have been maybe a TA at your PhD level as well, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so what is your method of teaching a class? What way do you like to teach so that the students actually understand?
Hmm. So the I think the easier way to learn is if you come up with the idea yourself. So, for example, if I tell you a theorem, it is very likely that you might forget the statement of the theorem. But if I lead you in the process so that you come up with the theorem yourself, then it is unlikely that you will forget because it is your own idea. It becomes your own. So I like to inculcate that in my classes, where instead of giving them the statement of the theorem and then giving them a proof, or giving them the lemma, proposition, blah blah blah, uh, I would like to involve them in the process of developing the subject. So let's say you are looking at calculus, and then you would think, okay, so after you know that limits exist, for example, then you might think, okay, so when does a limit not exist? What can happen? What possibly can go wrong? And then students themselves like to come up with, oh, what if you have a break in the graph? And then you're like, oh yes, that's a jump discontinuity. And then they themselves think about, oh, what if your graph keeps on going? And then you're like, okay, what does that mean? And then they themselves kind of come up with those ideas, so it's easier for them to grasp them. So that is one thing I like to uh, have in my lectures. Another thing that I try is to involve historical anecdotes. I think history of math is kind of underrated in our whole syllabus. When we teach math, we just teach them as if, oh, this is how we got the subject. But that's not true, right? I mean, the subject evolved over a period of time, let's say a period of 200 years, and all that is condensed into one chapter and given to you as a finished product. But that is not how it was. I mean, there was a whole process involved there. And so it is usually very interesting, and it makes it human, I think, to involve some history of math with it. So that is again another thing that I try. And I also like my lectures to be interactive. So I really encourage them to ask questions or make comments, or um, stop me whenever they want, and sort of interact and be together in that whole process. I try to tell my students also in class, when a professor tries to teach you in class, he's trying to teach let's say a bunch of 50 students. Everyone has different methods, different speeds of learning, so it's difficult to catch up with what's going on. Whereas when you have one-on-one interactions with your friends or with your teacher, that discussion is what really solidifies the concepts in your mind, because that discussion is where you have space to ask questions which might be wrong, or questions which might show you that your understanding might be flawed in some places, or questions which give you a deeper understanding, some concept that the professor might have missed in their lecture. But when you discuss one on one with them, that comes up, and it deepens your understanding. So these one on one informal discussions, either with your friends, your peers, or your professors, are, I think, very important. They helped me also a lot during my PhD, also my undergrad. So I think that is something which is really helpful.
So we all idealize someone or maybe a lot of people at different points in our time. Who is that one mathematician that you idealize? You know, whenever you are down, you just think about their story and you're like, okay, back to work now because, you know, they did so
Uh-huh.
much great work. So who is that
Honestly
for you?
speaking, I don't have a model or an idol as such. There are several mathematicians whom over the time I felt like, oh wow, I mean, they have done really great work despite a lot of difficulties. That tends to happen, but so far I haven't really felt that they are my idol. But one of the mathematicians that that comes up in a lot of, I think, everybody's work, his name comes up at least once, and it's Euler. And I am really amazed because he did so much work right from his young age, uh, and his story is not the kind of story that we usually portray of a mathematician being eccentric and being nerdy and out of this world, etc. Whereas he seems to be a personality who was very amicable. He had kids and grandkids, and he used to play with them, which is a very normal human thing. And I mean, of course, there was also the fact that towards the end of his life he was practically blind, and he would still write down these long intricate formulas, which is amazing. But at the same time, there is no, as I said, one doesn't have to be uh, eccentric in order to be doing good work, doing good research. And so that kind of story really stays with me, and I tell myself that it's okay if I'm not eccentric.
Have you faced sexism? Because mathematics is considered male domain, right?
That is true. Thing is, okay, I have not, I don't think I have faced overt sexism where blatantly on my face I would be discriminated against because I'm a woman. That has not happened. In fact, for me, the experience has been quite the opposite, where I have always been supported and encouraged by my teachers in school. Uh, and actually, many of them were male teachers. So, all of my male teachers in school, in high school, college, university, especially like CMI, many of my professors, most of my professors were male, but I never really felt that I was a girl or I was out of place, or that they were discriminating against me or anything like that. They were always very supportive and encouraging. That way, I don't think I've faced overt sexism. If it has come up in my life in a unnoticeable way, then I don't know. Because there is, I think there can be sometimes sexism which you don't really see or notice because you are in it. So if that is the case, then I don't know, but certainly I think I have been very lucky to be surrounded by mostly supportive people.
That's great. Talk to people around you who have maybe faced sexism. Has that happened?
Well, I have talked to some women who have this feeling that if they if they dress very well, then they think that their male colleagues need not take them very seriously. That is one aspect that some women have told me. Apart from that, like women getting not getting equal opportunity because they are women, uh, I haven't really come across that in North America, at least for the past few years, because over here there are so many initiatives for women that are being taken up. There are special grants that women can apply for, there are special scholarships. Um, and I think as a community, people over here are really trying to inculcate more female mathematicians, or actually mathematicians from all minority groups into the community. So as a whole, because of that effort, I don't feel it as much, or I haven't heard it as much over here. I don't know how things will be in future. But
But that's very good news. That's really
yeah,
good to
yeah, I
hear.
think it's a very positive news, because very often we hear of stories where stories that kind of disturb you, tend to disturb you, and then make you feel as if you might not be in the right place or you might not be in the right profession. But the overall atmosphere has been very positive, and the initiatives that have been taken up for equal representation of minority groups in mathematics, especially over here, I think it's a very optimistic sign.
My question: have you ever felt like that you want to quit mathematics because of the things that are
Oh,
happening around you?
that
I I have felt like quitting mathematics, not because of things around me, but because of my mathematics itself. You know, like you do math because you love math, but then there are times when nothing works out, right? I mean, when you are working on a problem for a year and nothing works out, and then you're like, okay, I'm tired of this, I want to quit. Those kind of things have happened. But for reasons uh, surrounding me, not really. I think
What
it's
is your
always been very competitive.
motivation, like motivational go-to thing whenever you are trying, you are thinking of quitting mathematics? From where do you get the motivation to get back up and, okay, what if it's not working out? Let me try again.
um that's a very interesting question. So my advisor, he used to, so this happened a lot during my PhD, where I would, be working on a problem and not making any progress, and then I would go to him, and then I would sort of tell him that this is what is happening, and then he would tell me that it is okay, it happens, it is natural, and it's part of the process. You learn to enjoy this process, and you've come so far, which means you have what it takes. And if you have what it takes, then you should just stick it out, just hang in there, and then things will become better. And that has worked out for me so far. Whenever I felt that things are getting difficult or anything, I would probably take a break, take a walk, listen to some music, and then think about these words of his, that if I've come so far, then I have got what it takes, and so I just need to hang in there. This will pass, and then I will make progress eventually.
In your life, has there been a story of a female that has inspired you, either a female that you know or either a female that existed in past?
I mean, one of the female who I really find inspiring is my mother, actually, because she came from a very difficult background, like a financially not as strong background, but then she works so hard every day, and she has established herself through her own hard work, uh, and that I find really inspiring, and it kind of keeps me motivated to do what I'm doing, because clearly I've got it much better than she had, and if she can do it, then so can I. There are, of course, other anecdotal stories from other mathematicians, which uh, other female mathematicians, which are inspiring. We have Sophie Germain. She had to disguise herself as a man and then write to Gauss, etc. So,
yeah.
you know, I think we nowadays have much better than the women of those times. And the fact that they were so passionate about math that none of those difficulties, none of those hurdles stopped them, then the hurdles that we face today should not stop us. So I think that kind of is one motivating factor for me, certainly.
Like, has anybody told you that yes, you are a math person? Maybe at a very young age, when you were in school.
No, they haven't told me to pursue math for sure. So I used to go for a lot of these math quizzes and math exams and stuff. but I've never, people have told me that you seem good at them, but they've never told me that I should pursue math further. I think it came of my own interest in some sense. I was actually planning to pursue engineering, as do many people in India.
Yeah.
But then I had a very long discussion with my father where he was trying to convince me that I should go for engineering, and I was trying to convince him that I really like math and I can't think about anything else. And then after a month or so, I think my parents were like, okay, fine. If you are so into it and if you are willing to, stake your future on this, on your love for math, then okay, go ahead.
Oh, so there was some friction at home
Oh
initially.
yeah. Oh yeah. There was.
So,
It was more out of unawareness or ignorance, or the fact that you don't have as many people pursuing math around you.
mhm, yeah.
So the major concern of my parents was, will you be able to support yourself financially if you do a math degree? What will you do after that? That was their main concern. But then we spoke to many graduates. We tried to get into touch with people who have pursued math degrees before, and I think after looking at the entire picture and my stubbornness, they
Hmm.
kind of gave into it and then said, okay, we'll support you.
What is the best way to spread awareness? There have been a lot of people who don't actually think mathematics is a viable career during high school. So
Mhm.
how would you propose to raise some kind of awareness for that?
I think just getting exposed to people doing math, I think, is a very good way of going about it, because it's not an abstract idea anymore that you can do math. These people actually do math. So I think that is a very helpful way of raising awareness, something that you guys are doing. I think it's a very good initiative. And I mean, going into academia is also not the only thing that you can do with a math degree. You can go into actual sciences, you can go into finance math, you can go into applied math. There are a lot of different options out there. Sometimes it takes too long to figure that out. So I think if there is an exposure to people who are into these careers already, for people in high school to see these people working, would be, I think, very helpful.
Have you seen the trend changing in regards to mathematics? You know, people have started pursuing it just because you have taken the initiative to go for this.
Things are definitely changing. I don't know if they are changing because of me. The I see a difference in the fact that when I come from Nasik, which is not a metropolitan city, but it is a big city in Maharashtra. And when I was growing up, there was not a lot of public awareness about various math exams. For example, even the math Olympiad, which is conducted, I was told when I was in school that it is too hard for people in school, so you should try it when you are in 11th and 12th grade. And when I went to 11th and 12th grade, I was told that now you should focus on your entrance exams and you should have done that in school. So, I mean, that completely, I think I lost out on a very good opportunity over there where I could have pursued it further when I was in school itself. But nowadays, I think that awareness is there through schools, through various classes, through people who have done these, have appeared for Olympiads, or who have done something in their career and have gone back. So I think that awareness is certainly increasing, and I can see that because uh, I know of some students from my school who ended up pursuing math further, or some students from certain classes that I were attending are now deciding to take up math, or deciding to appear for Olympiads, or deciding to uh, train themselves further for certain fields in math, or coming to the US for certain math camps. things like that, which were not quite there when I was growing up. uh, from my point of view, I try to play a small part in it, as in whenever I go back to my hometown, I try to go to this one particular class where you have, let's say, 100 students who are very interested in pursuing non-routine mathematics, which is not taught in school. And so I like to give them some lectures, like a couple of
Wow.
talks and things like that, or just interact with them and solve problems with them, things like that. So in my own way, I try to do that, but I don't think that is causing the big change. I think internet is very helpful, and also just the fact that people talk to each other much more these days is also very helpful. But yeah, things are changing for the better, I think.
So, what is the best advice that you have got throughout your career in mathematics, since now you're a postdoc, particularly in terms of mathematics?
I guess so my advisor told me two things. One was what I mentioned before about doing mathematics, where there might be times when you feel like you're not making any progress and you feel like you want to quit. And at that time, that was the advice he gave me, that you've come this far, you have what it takes, so just hang in there and keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you will make progress. If you make honest effort, then you will make progress. About actually mathematics, he had told me that what he does is, when we attend talks or conferences, sometimes it's very overwhelming because there might be, say, 6 talks or 7 talks in a day. And even if it is all on number theory, there are still different kinds of number theories. And then the people who speak about their research have been thinking about it for a very long time. So it's not as easy to grasp all the ideas that the person is trying to share with you. And it is very easy to get overwhelmed with how much you don't know. And my advisor used to tell me that when you go to a talk, just try to figure out what is the question that the person is trying to answer. And very often I've realized that it is hard to do that, to just pick out what is the question that the person is trying to answer. So I have tried it in the talks that I attend these days, and I think it does lead to more understanding about the talk, where instead of just following all the details that the person is giving, try to understand what is the question that the person is trying to answer, and what is the technique that he is using, rather than focusing on the details. And so that, I think, is very helpful for me. And also there is another advice that he gave me about reading a math paper. So very often I've seen, or I myself have tried to read math papers line by line from the beginning. Or you read the introduction, you read the abstract, you read the introduction, then you read the main theorems, preliminaries, etc. But he has told me that the best way to get the most out of that paper is, again, to figure out what question they are trying to answer. Think about the question yourself. How would you go about solving that problem in a bigger picture idea? Then try to go to the proof directly, and as and when you require any preliminaries, go back and refer to them. Instead of reading the paper in a linear fashion, I think going this back and forth reading or back and forth learning, even when you need to learn any topic, is particularly helpful, especially at a postgraduate level.
Last question of the session: what is the advice that you want to give to young people who are, thinking of entering mathematics or are mathematics major?
Yeah, especially
Um,
at high school level, because a lot of them might not know enough about this field.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important to stress that math is not hard, as is the general conception. It just makes you think. That's it. And if you're ready to think, and if you enjoy mathematics, then that is something that you should pursue. And academia is not the only path that you can take after you do mathematics. There are other paths out there. You can learn more about it. I think Google helps, but also there are other platforms where you can get to know more about what paths you can pursue after doing a math degree. If you have a passion for math, then there is nothing like it, and there should be nothing stopping you to do math. Math is very equal in a sense, because if you prove a theorem which is correct, then it doesn't matter what gender, what race, what ethnicity, what age you are. A correct theorem is a correct theorem. And I think that is very specific to math. It might not be the case in other fields of humanities or science, where things might be opinion based. So if you do like doing math, then there is a big universe out there ready for you to explore.
All right. Thank you so
Okay,
much,
take care,
Siddhi.
guys. Stay
You
safe.
too.
Bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.